Hi, my name is Layla Strickland, and I'm a scientist turned entrepreneur and second-time founder who's been focused on the biotechnology of human milk since I struggled to breastfeed my own children. My kids are teenagers now, and over time, I've come to see human milk as a naturally evolved catalog of human health solutions that goes way beyond babies. Now I've teamed up with Patrick Shi from UC Berkeley to launch Totality Biosciences with a unique molecular farming platform that will functionalize the food supply with full-spectrum human milk oligosaccharides. Human milk contains numerous bioprotective components, and human milk oligosaccharides, or HMOs, are one of the most unique categories. HMOs support a healthy gut microbiome, they regulate the immune system, they block pathogens and reduce infection, and they contribute to even building a healthy brain. In the past decade, some HMOs have been industrially produced for premium infant formula, and research is ongoing to explore their benefits across a wide range of populations. But manufacturing challenges today limit their widespread use, leaving a significant market opportunity for those who can find solutions to today's particular hurdles. Today, HMOs are industrially produced using genetically engineered E. coli. After 10 years in the market, we now have a small industry with about 5,000 tons of production volume annually, maybe generating around $250 million in revenue. Behind the scene, there's actually a growing concern among both buyers and suppliers of HMOs that these ingredients won't reach their commercial potential because the products are still too limited and the ingredients are too expensive. Making HMOs in plants instead of bioreactors is a step change that leverages the natural metabolic engine of photosynthesis, resulting in low upstream costs. Meanwhile, the existence of processing infrastructure for food crops offers a range of downstream options that don't exist for HMOs produced in E. coli. Our foundational technology was developed in the lab of our co-founder and CSO, Patrick Shi, at UC Berkeley. Patrick and his graduate student, Colin Barnum, created the world's first genetically engineered plants for HMO production by expressing specific enzymes for HMO synthesis in a model plant. Colin and Patrick proved that their plants can make a diverse array of HMOs, potentially even all 200 HMOs. They also showed that the plant-produced HMOs were similar to HMOs from breast milk for supporting the growth of gut-healthy bifidobacteria. And finally, they showed that HMOs could be made at least 10 times cheaper in plants compared with E. coli, setting the stage for the spin-out. The first goal of Totality is to take the genetic engineering from a research model into a food crop to create the world's first platform for photosynthetic milk oligosaccharides. As such, we're calling this platform FOMO, and our goal is to make sure that no one misses out on HMOs. The pre-seed strategy is focused on validation of two specific HMO targets that address the two prongs of our value proposition. So first, we want to make a cost-competitive version of a popular HMO ingredient today. We're focused on making 2-fucosyl lactose, or 2FL, at a cost that will expand its use for gut health across new consumer segments. Second, we want to make a complex HMOs that no one else can even produce at all today. So DSLNT is the perfect target for this. This is a life-saving molecule for preterm infants in the NICU, but it can't be scaled up today. Across infant and non-infant applications for these two programs alone, I estimate that this would be a $6 billion business in the US if it existed today. But of course, we're just getting started today. We're filling in our pre-seed round so that we can move quickly with full speed this year to deliver the world's first food crops for HMO production, backed by strong strategic partnerships that will set the stage for a focused launch and rapid growth. We're focused on key de-risking points, executing on a strategy to launch 2FL in 2030, followed by DSLNT in 2032. As the recurring revenues are established based on these two programs, we'll invest internally in new products and supply chain internalization, growing to become market leaders with 10 kiloton annual capacity and 2.2 billion in annual revenue within 10 years of launch. Patrick and I have been working side by side since the spring of 2025 with support from the Long Game and Replicator VC. We've been able to bring Colin on board. Our lab is up and running in Berkeley, California, and I've still got a little bit of room in the pre-seed round if you'd like to join us to functionalize the food supply with the world's first food crops for HMOs. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Leila. So this is actually a company where we were the first check-in, and that's because of really Leila and Patrick making such a great founding team. Combination of sort of Patrick's expertise in synthetic biology with Leila as a second-time founder in the human milk space sort of really makes a very, very compelling case. I mean, what attracted to us to this, to Totality from a longevity perspective was, first of all, actually the focus on even infant formula as one route, making such a big impact on health span and lifespan. If you look at actually the difference between babies that are fully breastfed versus infant formula, there is big health outcomes for life, for your entire life, and all cause mortality. But also HMOs, potentially in adults, can be critical for gut health, immune health, and so we see a really strong, interesting longevity angle here. Leila, we sort of obviously think about it a lot from the therapeutics angle, but of course you're also looking at it from the food angle, potentially replacing and adding many of these to infant formula. Could you sort of talk more about how those two parts complement each other?
Sure. Well, we always are kind of straddling this food as medicine and food and therapeutics because we're working with bioactive components that have the potential for real efficacy. And so as a therapeutics approach or therapeutics play, we're about to become the only company in the world that has access to this complete library of biomolecules that have been through already millions of years of clinical trials in the 117 billion people who have existed on Earth thanks to these molecules. And so they have a very strong evolutionary history in supporting our survival and promoting our health that's well validated by our own existence. And so we're excited to be the first to be able to start to map those structures to functions and understand in much more depth than we do today how they're impacting mechanisms of inflammation and immunosenescence and some of the mechanisms specifically related to longevity. On the other hand, breast milk is very much a food for infants. And as a food, we know that it is safe. We know that we can be exposed to it without worrying tremendously about side effects and adverse events. And so from that standpoint as well, we think these are potentially some of the safest therapeutics you could ever have, and even safe enough when formulated properly to be used in the food supply. And we think it's important to intervene upstream of disease if we want to really maximize the lifespan and health span of humans around the world. And so it's kind of a two-pronged approach to human health. Let's figure out what the therapeutic potential is of this incredible class of molecules that we've never had access to for development. And then let's also find out what's the best way to use them to achieve the functional goals of making people healthier for as long as possible.
Thanks so much, Leila. Actually, one quick one. We've only got 30 seconds, but could you tell us why you chose DSLNT as the first more complex HMO to go after, which isn't already widely used and widely available?
Yeah, so today around 10% of babies are born preterm, and around 10% of those are very likely to develop a devastating inflammatory disease of the gut called necrotizing enterocolitis. And DSLNT is a complex human milk oligosaccharides with no synthesis method today, but it has been produced at levels that have allowed preclinical work to be done. And so in rodent models of this necrotizing enterocolitis, we know that it improves the survival of these babies. And we also know that the pathology in the intestine with necrotizing enterocolitis is actually pretty similar to irritable bowel syndrome and other inflammatory disorders in the gut later in life. And so we think that if a scalable method of production were available, we could save the lives of babies in the NICU, as well as potentially have therapeutic efficacy in a much larger expanded population of people who are struggling with gastrointestinal inflammatory disease.
Thanks so much, Leila.